Ohio Congressman and House Intel and Ways and Means Committee member Brad Wenstrup. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. Good to be with you.
I'll tell you, a lot of people are questioning what's going on in terms of the election results. Is there an FBI investigation into this right now?
Well, I would hope that there is, and I would think that it needs to be, because if you look at what's taken place in the last 4 years, the American people have a clear understanding that nefarious behavior is part of the protocol for some people, not only as politicians, but within our agencies, which is another concern with FBI. But there's just so much coming forward. Americans want to know if they had an honest election or not. They deserve to know if they had an honest election or not. And so many games were being played in so many states where they were changing the rules and setting up different parameters that no one can really understand it. I mean, what I've been told is, at some places you pushed a button, but you never got to see the paper copy that's translated how you actually voted. There's just so many things out there that need to be investigated. I'm grateful in Ohio, where I'm from, that it wasn't a problem. No one's questioning the election, but our system was pretty sound, and every state should be able to have a sound system. You have 4 years to get ready for this, so there's a lot of questions, and I'm glad that the Trump administration is pushing forward.
Well, I mean, look, we've heard from Rudy Giuliani, who's going to join me momentarily after our interview. We've also heard from Sidney Powell about the Smartmatic software. Listen to what Sidney Powell, who's working on this, told me on Sunday. Watch.
First of all, I never say anything I can't prove. Secondly, the evidence is coming in so fast, I can't even process it all. Millions of Americans have written, I would say by now. Definitely hundreds of thousands have stepped forward with their different experiences of voter fraud. But this is a massive election fraud, and I'm very concerned it involved not only Dominion and its Smartmatic software, but that the software essentially was used by other election machines. Every state that bought Dominion for sure should have a criminal investigation, or at least a serious investigation of the officers in the states who bought the software. We've even got evidence of some kickbacks.
Yeah, and she's even talking about kickbacks where the governors who took that machine and used it got benefits for their family. Look, I don't know anything about that. I do have one source who told me they believe the FBI is investigating this. But I'll tell you, Congressman, given all of these irregularities, shouldn't we have some kind of official response from our investigative architecture? You're on the Intel Committee to tell us whether or not our vote matters?
Absolutely should. Again, Americans need that confidence. That was a very compelling story. I watched that on Sunday. Sidney Powell is someone of great credibility, being on Intelligence Committee. I know her work on the Flynn case, and for her to say that she wouldn't say it unless she knew it to be true is really remarkable. And you're right, but don't count on the House of Representatives, Adam Schiff, to expect to have the FBI in to give us some kind of briefing on it. That's probably not going to happen. But we need to dig into that from our side as best we can, because there should be some investigations of these things. Election fraud is one of the most serious things that could possibly happen in a free country, and the United States of America has always had higher expectations and higher levels of trust and honesty that we could count on, and we don't have that right now.
I mean, you've got to understand the American people right now. We're counting on the intelligence agencies, the FBI, the DOJ, to protect American citizens. And what do we have going on here? We've got questions around the election. We've got questions around these voting machines and the software being used. We have questions around our free speech. You've got Twitter censoring people, who think that, if you don't agree with what they believe and their ideologies, then it must be fake news. I mean, who's protecting the American people? Is it your committee? Is it the DOJ? What are we supposed to think here?
Well, I'd say it was our committee when we had Devin Nunes in charge. But if you just look at the fact that John Brennan told President Obama that Hillary Clinton was planning to create a scandal against Donald Trump, a candidate for president of the United States and then president of the United States, and what did they do? Instead of investigating her, they aided and abetted the whole situation and investigated Donald Trump. We have a problem within these agencies that is beyond control. If you'd have told me 8 years ago when I first came to Congress that any of this stuff took place, I'd say, there's probably a rogue person here and there. But I've become very convinced that there are just many, many people that feel justified for some reason in doing the types of things that they do. And it flies in the face of what our founders had in mind for this country and for what most Americans have in mind for this country. But one of the other problems is, Maria, you've done a great job of talking about these things, but if you look across the country and other media, most Americans have no idea if they only tune into one station or another, and that's a problem. That's a problem that we have, is a very misinformed population right now. But I will tell you, we know that over 70 million people voted for Donald Trump, and they want the answers.
Well, I'm going to continue fighting for my viewers. I know what my viewers want to hear, and I know they want truth. I'm going to continue seeking truth as hard as it might feel. And with as much pushback as I've gotten, I will continue fighting to seek truth and fighting for my viewers, because I know what they want to hear. They also want to know more about this COVID-19 vaccine. Let's talk about that for a second. Major progress being made with both Pfizer and Moderna's treatment reporting an over 90% effective rate. Joe Biden spoke out on the vaccine yesterday and whether or not he's going to get vaccinated. Listen to this.
If the FDA gives emergency authorization to the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine in the coming weeks, will you get vaccinated?
I wouldn't hesitate to get the vaccine, but I also want to set an example. But I wouldn't hesitate to get the vaccine if, in fact, Dr. Fauci and these two organizations, whether it's Moderna or Pfizer, who have been extremely responsible, conclude that it is safe and able to be done. Look, the only reason people question the vaccine now is because of Donald Trump. That's the reason why people are questioning the vaccine, because all the things he says and doesn't say, whether is it truthful, is it not truthful, the exaggerations.
I mean, do you think he lost his train of thought there? And also, I mean, Donald Trump, President Trump, has done more to mobilize the pharmaceutical industry to get a vaccine on the market than anybody. So let's just stop the BS, okay? I mean, look, President Trump said months ago, we're going to have a vaccine by the end of the year. What happened? All of his critics laughed at him. So what's happening now? We're getting a vaccine by the end of November.
They have delivered like never before. You know, the soonest we ever had a vaccine before was 4 years, and that was for mumps. What has taken place is unprecedented, and you got to give the Trump administration credit for this, how they have worked with the pharmaceutical industry. We're in an unprecedented time where you can almost take any new virus and plug it in and develop vaccines in rapid time. That is what has taken place. And the politics that have taken place with this are ridiculous. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, what Cuomo is saying today, Governor Cuomo is saying today, is really almost sinful to me, Maria, because they're telling people not to take it. And that, to me, could cost lives. There's no doubt about it. You know, I'm a physician, as the Doctors Caucus. We have had oversight over this process from the beginning. Donald Trump is not part of the scientific community. Donald Trump is not part of the Independent Data and Safety Monitoring Board, which is the group that they're the only ones who know who got a placebo, who got the real thing, and what the results look like. They'll be the ones that authorize an emergency use. We want to get this and get it out to the most vulnerable and to our healthcare workers as soon as possible so that we can start saving lives and move on. And what also is unprecedented through this whole thing is the fact that these vaccines were already produced before approval. The risk was if they're not approved, then they're wasted. But if they are approved, we can go right into action. That's why there's the term warp speed. So this has been done right, beyond right. You normally have like 8,000 to 10,000 people in a trial. This is 30,000 to 40,000 and 50,000 people in these trials, and they were making sure that you had the right mix of people in the trials, the most vulnerable, minority communities. That's what's taking place. I will tell you, everybody in the Doctors Caucus has said, because we followed this process, you get a vaccine and we will take it, and I stand by that.
Congressman, what about these growing calls from a number of your colleagues who are saying, look, allow Joe Biden to receive intelligence briefings, even as the results of the election are being contested and being examined? Do you think he should be receiving briefings reserved for the president-elect?
Well, I don't see any harm necessarily in him receiving some briefings on certain things at different levels. You know, I don't know that President Trump was awarded the same respect when he got elected, and there were things that they didn't brief him on. They decided not to brief him on, which was unprecedented as well. But I think that remains to be seen, because there certainly is a lot of question. Look, we have time. We have time. I don't know that he needs to be receiving briefings right now. Let's get a little further along in this verification process and let the process play out as it should. I think that there's some unclassified things that he could be informed on, but I don't know that we need to go into great detail until we're a little further along. You know, we had this situation before with Gore versus Bush, and it took 36 days before that was settled. I think this is going to take even longer, if indeed what Sidney Powell had to say was correct, and they can move forward with that as long as they're not stymied by the courts and are given a fair hearing, which I hope they are.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how long will this process take? You know, you're supposed to be getting certifications very soon by these states. Will they delay the certification until the investigations play out? And will this go to the Supreme Court?
Well, I think ultimately it will. It should, at least in some of these cases, if what they're saying is true, because you really have to get down to the bottom line of what took place. Again, this is unbelievable. I mean, I felt like I was watching The Twilight Zone, if those are old enough to remember that show. You know, you had these states coming in with results, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. It just came to an end.
Yeah.
And what does that tell you? We've never seen anything like this before. So something is going on that's extremely different. And again, like I said before, you change all these rules and everything else. It makes it very difficult to believe that this is clean and fair without checking into it completely. And why there's not a paper trail on every single vote in every state is beyond me.
Well, that's right. And you know what Rudy Giuliani said to me on Sunday, and he's going to join us momentarily. He said, when you look at Pennsylvania, election night, President Trump was up by 800,000 votes. Everybody went to sleep. They came back the next morning, and it was this additional hundreds of thousands of votes that came in overnight that he's saying came in on boxes. I don't know. He's going to talk to us about it in a minute. He said the same thing happened in Michigan and Wisconsin. The president was up, and then suddenly additional votes came in. All right, we will investigate on our own, Congressman. It is good to see you. Thank you so much. We'll keep following it. Brad Wenstrup joining us there.